Hey guys, it's Lee here. Had a deer given to me last weekend. It's Wednesday. Been trying to hunt behind my house. Ain't had much luck. I got neighbors for some reason every year at hunting season trying to sight in their guns and shoot every gun, even though they're not even using it for deer hunting. Heck, they got like 100 acres somewhere else to hunt at, so they just ruin mine every year. Lord did provide us with a deer, so it's in the freezer, and I've got the hide. I've got it out here in the shed. I've had it stretched out, letting it kind of dry a little bit, well, since Saturday night. And I'm going to show some of the processes on how I tan my hides. It'll be a brain tanned hide once I'm done with it. You really can't get a better feel than a brain tanned hide. In the final process, I will sew it up in a bag and I will smoke it over hickory smoke or cedar smoke, depending on what color I want the hide. Give it its buckskin color to it. I'm going to get as much of the meaty flesh and the fat off of the hide that I can with a knife. When I know that I have the time to do it, when I know I'm not going to have to work the weekend, I will take 3 days prior to that and I will soak it in a tub of water, submerge it completely. Every day, every morning before I go to work, I will drain the water off, put fresh water in it, and when I get home from work, I will do the same thing for 3 days. The hair finally starts loosening up some, and you can kind of pull on it, and it starts to kind of release. Then you know that it's soaked long enough. As long as you keep the water fresh in it like that, change it, it shouldn't have a smell to it other than just the wild game smell that you normally smell. But as far as stinking, there should not be no stinking, because there should not be no kind of rot yet. And I'm going to set it up so that you can see what I'm doing with the knife. And once I do that, I'm going to just stretch it out tonight and let it dry till I find out for sure if I've got to work this Saturday or Sunday. And if not, then I will throw it in some water tomorrow as soon as I get home from work. And by Sunday after church, I should be able to take and put it in my stretching frame and stretch it out, start scraping the rest of whatever fat or meat that's left. As you can see, this whole area here, I've already got most of it fleshed out. That is where it was shot at. That will come out whenever I soak it for them 2 to 3 days. But what I'm doing is I'm just taking my knife and wherever there is a big thick spot of fat or meat, I just take and slowly go around it, make sure that I don't cut into the hide, because you don't want to gouge into your hide or cut into it. Usually if you get a decent spot going, you can just take it and peel it off in a great big chunk. You may have to stand on the hide, which make it dirty, but that's alright. You gotta clean off whenever you wash it. Like I said, put it in the water. Yeah. As you can see, great big area here is just peeling off. Putting all this in a bowl here, and it just peels off in a great big wad. Like I said, you want to get as much of this off as you can, because if not, it can give the hide little bit of a tangy smell if this was to start trying to break down some. Like I said, just get the biggest pieces and the majority. Just definitely be careful. You have to hold your knife at about a 45-degree angle or so and just slide it across the hide till you can get up underneath the piece of flesh. And it's better to kind of let it dry just a little bit. It'll release a little bit better off the hide, because then the hide isn't so, because the hide will stretch in 4 different directions and it's harder to get some of that meat off. But if you let it dry a little bit, not all the way, then that hide does not want to stretch as much and it's easier to pull some of this meat off. There's a big chunk of fat right here. Get this big chunk of fat off of here. Alright. As you see, it has nothing but flesh off of the hide itself. Keep working it and pulling some. I've fleshed it out pretty much as you can with just my pocket knife. It's still got leaves and stuff like that on it. I will get this in the water and be able to get it stretched out so that I can finish scraping and defleshing this side. And I'll let it sit there and dry for tonight anyway. Okay, the guy that gave me a deer 2 weekends ago, he brought me another deer last weekend. Now I have 2 hides to do. I started soaking the first one on Monday. It soaked all day yesterday. I've changed the water several times to stretch that hide out that has been soaking for the last 2 days. I'm going to start fleshing it with my scraper. The scraper that I have made from sassafras tree that was behind my shed here. It was a small sapling sassafras, but it had a tree fall on it and it was bent over and it was starting to die out. And I took it out, got the perfect shape to it. As you can see, it had a limb coming out and it was growing this way. So if you can find a limb like this, it's great. They grow all over. You can cut one off and do it. Just split the end, put you a metal blade, sharpen down a piece of bone, or if you flint knap, you can knap out a scraper head as I did. Normally in most of this area around here, I myself have never found on a campsite any scraper head, nor do I know of anybody else that's found one. Normally any bigger than this one. They are all usually around this size or maybe a little smaller. And as you can tell, the one that I have made is quite a bit bigger. My way of thinking is that there will cut down on my scraping time. But as everybody knows, bigger does not always mean better. They may have known something I don't know. I find thumb scrapers all the time around here just made out of flakes. But I've never found anything this big. So I'm going to give it a try. It may not work out the way I'm wanting, and I may have to go back the one this here size and put this one in there. Since I have 2 hides to do this year, smoke both of them on the same day. I will be going through the whole process and making a video of going through it from the beginning to the end up until the smoking process. When it gets to the smoking process, I will probably go on ahead and put out this video so that you can see the hide as it's completed and it's white. It will not be smoked yet. And white hides are beautiful and they're great. The only problem is if they get wet, then when they dry, they go back to basically rawhide. After you smoke it, it actually turns to the buckskin, which most people think of as what Native American clothes was made out of. When they say leather, it was buckskin. This one here, right behind me, it has been smoked. This is a hide that I have done, or that I had done back about 2 years ago. It's still just as soft. It has a very faint hickory cedar smoke smell. It's very pleasant to the nose, actually. I have got my hide stretched out. I'm fixing to start doing my fleshing. I built a frame from some more of them 2x4s from that old shed that I was tearing down. That I had already pre-cut all of my holes in the hide where the string is going through, which is just I think it's a 20-25 pound test nylon string, just a mason line. And before I even started my soaking process. So now I'm fixing to go get that scraper, work it a little bit, and it will stretch, and I will have to retighten my line some. Then I can just go back and pull them strings out and cut the little strip that was left on there up and give that to the dogs for some rawhide. Started scraping on it some. You can definitely tell up in here where it's a lot smoother. You can see where my scraper has been stopping there. I'm really not so sure about this bigger head scraper blade. Like I was saying, it seems almost as if it's covering too much of an area and it's not wanting to dig in the way that it should, not wanting to grab a hold of it like my smaller ones always have and just peel it off in great big chunks or strips. So I may end up having to go to the smaller one. But what I do is I will take this and I will kind of hold it. I'll try to get it on here, just at an angle like that, and just scrape down. But I will usually put my left hand up on this hair part so that I can kind of push on the hide, or push on it some to help it go in there and get a hold of some of that stuff. But as you can see, even with me not doing that, it will grab a hold of it and it slowly pulls it down. And that's what I'm saying. This big one is not wanting to. The small one will usually dig in under, and you can just pull back and it'll just peel a great big piece out. And so it seems like it's actually taking longer for this. I did have to go and change out my blade. This time I tied it up with just some of that regular nylon